Hey there, friends, it's Bryan, and welcome back to another episode of Comic Talk with Bryan, with your host, yours truly. Hey, y'all, we got a great artist lined up for you guys today to hear some stories about, and of course, the books that made this industry that we all love and enjoy. We're talking about the one and only Neal Adams. So stay tuned, you're not going to want to miss this.
Hey Bryan, welcome back for part 2. You ready?
I am more than ready.
Awesome. Let's just dive into it then. So we left off with the late 60s and Jim Steranko and his accomplishments. But we can't really skip over the 60s without talking about probably, I'd have to say, the greatest artist that's alive today that's been working in the industry since the Silver Age, and that's Neal Adams. We'll start off showing you this guy.
Oh, yeah. With the Ra's al Ghul cover.
Yep.
Yes. Good stuff.
So Neal started in the industry in like the mid to late 50s. Got into comic books. He was hired back at a time when they weren't really hiring new artists. You know, everybody had their stable of artists already established, and when he came in, and people liked what he brought to the table, and he got hired into the industry, and he started with Archie's, I believe. He did a few Archie's books. If you can find any of those, they go for some pretty good money. Did some other stuff, and it really wasn't until when he came on in the Batman. This wasn't the first one that he did. It was I don't remember. It was early Detective Comics he started on. For the Batman title, I know he did the cover of number 200, but that's where he really built his fame. I mean, he'll say he was famous from the beginning, which, bless the man. But really, this is where he really took the industry by storm. How we talked about during the Batman segment about how DC just wasn't sure what to do with Batman. The book was kind of losing sales and trouble. It was the Adam West TV series that kind of revitalized the book again, and that lasted only so long, maybe about a year.
Yeah.
And the flavor wore off, and then the book started just getting real stale again. And it was the late 60s when they brought Neal and Denny O'Neil. Gotta give Denny O'Neil credit too, because he wrote all those amazing stories.
Most definitely.
But it was them that brought the Dark Knight back to his roots and brought him the dark. A lot of people like to credit Frank Miller for doing that with The Dark Knight Returns, but really it was Adams and O'Neil that really...
I totally agree with that.
Did that, introducing Ra's al Ghul, the man who wanted to destroy the world because it's evil and rebuild it.
Yeah.
To be good. It's almost like a bit of nobility in what he's thinking, because he's got some truth to it. I mean, the world is a terrible place,
and I like that play on that.
Yeah, in his mind, the right thing to do is, because you can't fix it, destroy it and rebuild it.
Yeah, and that makes a more dynamic character to the Batman.
Yeah, absolutely. Little deeper story going into Ra's al Ghul. His daughter Talia, I'm sure you've heard of her.
Yep.
She came out in Detective Comics 411. She falls in love with Batman.
That's right.
And because of that, she tells her father that she loves Batman and he can't kill him. And because he respects his daughter and loves his daughter so much, he obeys her wish and does not kill Batman.
Yeah.
He'll whoop him to the hair from his life, but he won't kill him. But he's also impressed Ra's al Ghul with him because he's still the world's greatest detective. And in fact, Ra's calls him the detective.
That's right.
So there's that mutual respect. And I think later they write it where Ra's actually was hoping that Batman would eventually take over his empire.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Wow. Now see, that needs to be a DC what if.
Yeah. So going further in, so a lot of what Neal and Denny did was they revitalized a lot of the old, uh, hate to say stale characters, because I mean these are all great characters, but Two-Face.
Mm.
He was always, well, everything Golden Age and early Silver Age was very comical, I would say. And again, just their modern take, because they brought back Harvey Dent in the Silver Age or Bronze Age, early Bronze in this issue, and they really gave him the personality that we see today.
Right.
I know I gave you the Batman 251 the last time, the Joker with the playing card.
Yes, you did.
That's their revitalization of the Joker. That is considered the first modern age Joker.
Yeah.
Because all of the Joker before him was always just
silly.
Again, yeah, like the gingerbread man. Like, you can't catch me. Ha,
That's
ha, ha,
right.
ha. And it wasn't until the 251 where they start turning him into more psychopathic.
Oh, these good books I want.
So, they had a really good run on Batman, did some incredible things. And again, just look at the artwork. I mean, you can see like the detail. There was nobody like what he was doing at the time. I'll give props. John Romita Sr., to me, probably one of the greatest artists of all time. Jim Steranko, fantastic artist. But, I mean, for Neal, for as long as he's been doing it, I mean, there's nobody that can top.
There's some real artists out there, for real.
Then I'm sure you know this guy.
Oh, yes.
This is actually the first Bronze Age book. So this kicks off all of comics into the Bronze Age.
That's right. That book is worth some money in a high grade.
This is the first time they team up. Green Lantern and Green Arrow. Also by Neal Adams and Denny O'Neil during the scripts. When they started this story arc, they wanted to keep everything grounded and earthbound, so dealing with a lot of issues going on in actual society and a lot of the politics involved.
Yeah, I in my own personal thoughts on this book, that's why I loved it.
Have you read this?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
I mean, the last page is so moving when he's in his apartment complex and his neighbor comes out. He's a black man, and he says, you've helped the orange skins, the blue skins, the purple skins. How come you've never helped the black skins?
Yeah.
And Green Lantern couldn't answer that. That started off their journey with Hal and Ollie just jumping in a pickup truck and driving across the country and seeing America.
Great stuff. I have this version, but it's very low grade. Oh, nice.
So, we had mentioned the Comics Code prior and how drugs were taboo. You couldn't do it.
That's right.
When this issue came out, seeing the heroin needle
right there
was a big deal at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at the emotion on his face.
Yeah.
Like you could tell like
the emotion on Green Arrow's face.
Yeah. There's a lot going on there.
And it was timely when this came out. It was very timely.
Oh yeah. And drugs were rampant at the time. Now, a little backstory about the whole anti-drug thing. People think of Stan Lee being the first one to come out with the anti-drug story with Amazing Spider-Man 96, with the book without the Comics Code approval.
Yes.
What few people know is that Neal had actually drawn this cover before that book went into print.
Really?
He and Denny had the idea for the story, turned it into the editor, and because of the Comics Code, they were told they couldn't use it, so it was put on the shelf.
Wow.
And it wasn't until Stan pushed his book forward, and again, being related to the editor, he got his way and they pushed the book through. When Stan was able to do it, Neal took notice and said, hey, if they can do it, why can't we?
Yeah, they damn well did theirs.
So what they eventually did was they got together and they revamped the Comics Code so that they could tell positive stories about drug use and make it anti-drug, which is why this book now has the Comics Code seal right there.
There it is.
And I think this book is still relevant today.
Oh, totally agree.
I mean, granted, it's not really heroin so much anymore, but you can just replace that with any harmful drug, opioids, meth.
Yeah.
So yeah, Neal had a great start to his career. He went on to doing a lot of iconic stuff. I mean, that's probably his most iconic Superman cover.
One of my favorite covers of Supes. And one, I'm glad to say I own in the PC.
Oh. Nice. He also did Superman versus Muhammad Ali.
That's another one I'm looking for.
I wish I had a copy of that to show you.
Dude, me too.
I own one, I just didn't bring it.
Oh, you booger.
Sorry.
See how you are?
Once they figured out how talented and how much Neal sold books, he did a lot of covers. He did a ton of stuff. He was pretty much the golden boy of the time. Like, you ask anybody that was buying comics off the rack in the early 70s, if Neal Adams was on the cover, that book sold. It doesn't matter what the insides were. He was basically how the new artists of today are.
Wow.
Like the Todd McFarlanes, the Jim
Yes.
Lees. Yeah, anything that Neal touched was gold.
Wow.
Just look in a price guide. You'll see, as you're going through all the issues, you come to Neal Adams cover and art, you'll notice the price is higher. It's because people paid more. And, I mean, clearly you can see why.
Oh, most definitely. That's a beautiful cover.
And, not only was he a great artist and being able to take all of these older characters and revitalizing them, he was also an innovator, too. Like, he created some new characters. He later went on to Marvel. I don't think we ever touched on this, but X-Men was a dying book.
Yeah, we did, actually.
Did we? Okay, yeah. I mean, we've had so many, I lose track of what we covered.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, X-Men was a dying title. They couldn't figure out how to increase sales. Prior to this, I had showed you in part 1 with the Steranko covers that Steranko had done. He created Polaris. He created that new logo. But Neal also created some new characters. This fellow here named Havoc. That was Neal's creation.
Huh.
And along with Havoc, he also created, who I think is really cool and underrated, Sauron.
Very cool.
And these are just a few. I mean, he's done so many. Like, I can't even count how much stuff that he's worked on. I mean, he's done horror, Western. I mean, you name it, he's done it. And he's still working and putting out content today. Like I said, there is nobody from the Silver Age putting out the quality and quantity that Neal Adams still continues to put out. We can't skip over the Silver Age and not mention all his accomplishments.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, that looks to be it for part 2.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Well, that's it. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw today, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so you know when I'm throwing down new content. Also, hit the like button. So that's always good and helps me out trying to build this channel. Also, last week's part 1 never showed on Instagram because it ran like 15 minutes longer than usual. But there was so much goodness. You IG people have to go over there to my YouTube channel to go check it out, to go get the full story on that week's show. So we'll see you soon.